Good morning everybody, Olly Richards here, and today I am going to tell you about the most embarrassing language mistake that I think I have ever made. The kind of mistake that makes you want to run away, bury your head under a cushion and just hide from the world. Would you like to hear it? You would? Good. Have a bit of a laugh at my expense, why don't you? Just make sure to subscribe to this channel first by clicking that big red subscribe button right underneath this video, because that will make me feel a bit better. Consider it emotional compensation for the story that I'm about to tell you. Anyway, the year was 2001. I just moved to Paris and I got myself a job in a cool little youth hostel called Le Village in the beautiful Montmartre district in the north of Paris. And I was working the graveyard shift behind reception. Now one night there were these two French guys staying at the hostel who came up to me at reception and asked for some blankets. Strange, I thought, maybe it's cold in the room or something like that. Unfortunately, when they asked me for those blankets, I was busy serving another customer who had just arrived. So I said, sure, just give me a few minutes. The customer took a while, and a few minutes later, these same guys came back again and asked for those blankets one more time. What's the rush, I thought, take it easy. So I just kept serving the customer, as I should, the blankets can wait, and those two French guys started looking very annoyed. Now, after about 5 minutes or so, I finished up with the customer and I went off to get the blankets from the storeroom. I took the blankets over to where the French guys were sitting and I said, "Voilà vos couvertures. Here are your blankets." There was a silence. They both turned and looked at me, gave me a look of death. Non, pas de couverture, des couverts. "We didn't want blankets," they said. "We want cutlery. Cutlery!" Turns out that they had just finished cooking some pasta, which by now was stone cold, for their evening meal. When they couldn't find the cutlery, they needed to eat it in the kitchen. It just so happens that cutlery and blankets in French sound pretty similar. So I apologised as profusely as I could. I quickly grabbed them the cutlery from the drawer, which ironically was right next to them, and all this as my face began to turn the brightest possible shade of scarlet. I apologised some more and then I immediately ran back to my reception desk where I just tried to basically hide and wish that the whole world would go away. It was not my finest hour. But the interesting thing is that I still remember the French word for blankets and cutlery almost 20 years later, despite having never needed to use them since, with crystal clarity. Such is the power of embarrassing situations, or more to the point, such is the power of mistakes. Mistakes, ladies and gentlemen, are how we learn. Via negativa, we know what is wrong with more clarity than what is right. Knowledge grows by subtraction, etc., etc. And yet, when we're learning a foreign language, we spend so much of our time trying to avoid making mistakes. Mistakes are bad, they say. Well, mistakes are bad, aren't they? Isn't the word itself a negative, something to be avoided? Whether it's the correct verb conjugation you're looking for, the perfect pronunciation for that difficult word you're trying to remember, or in my case, using completely the wrong word and making people's dinner go cold. We see our mistakes as a source of embarrassment, annoyance, despair. A lot of people I meet even talk about giving up their language studies because they're still making mistakes. But let me ask you this, if I had never ruined that pasta dinner for those hungry French guys in Paris, how long would it have taken me to learn the difference between cutlery and blankets in French? Couvert or couverture? Would I ever have learned the difference? See, I say it's time to rethink mistakes. I say it's time to recognize mistakes for what they are. Mistakes are actually the way we learn. That's right. How else do you think we ever gain confidence in our languages if we don't go out and mess up from time to time? But you have to mess things up. You have to. You have to get it wrong and screw up. Mistakes and learning from mistakes are how you gain the confidence to know when you get it right. So it's time to reframe how we think about mistakes, not as a big negative that we have to learn to live with. Rather, we should relish making mistakes and actually look forward to making them, even going out of our way sometimes to make mistakes. Putting ourselves out there as much as possible so that mistakes can be made and lessons can be learned. Now, you might be thinking that all this sounds frightfully difficult to do, to start to look forward to making mistakes. But really, all it comes down to is deciding to change the way you think and react to making mistakes. Every time you get a conjugation wrong, mispronounce something, or even completely confuse the person that you're talking to, don't see it as a reflection of your value as a human being, but rather say to yourself, yes, this is an opportunity to learn and to get better. As soon as you start to see mistakes as the actual path through which you learn the language, they suddenly start to take on a very different character. I know it sounds crazy, but really, this is just a decision of deciding not to react to the mental panic of making mistakes that's been programmed into us by years of formal lessons and memories of school. Draw power and courage from your mistakes. You will be happier for it. Anyway, it really is that simple. It's just down to you. So what do you think? Do you like the idea of being less beholden to mistakes in language learning? If you do, then subscribe to this channel so I can send you more regular, slightly off-the-wall language tips. And next time you find yourself beating yourself up about learning a language, mistakes, lack of progress, do yourself a favor and remember, make more mistakes. Thanks for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it and you'd like me to continue this series of the rules of language learning, then you can let me know by liking this video. Also, if you'd like to be notified when I upload new videos every week, then you can subscribe to the channel using the big red button below, and the videos will pop right up in your news feed.